Hello, and welcome to the Indiana University Cinema's virtual screening room. Please note that live automatic captioning is available for tonight's event. To turn on captions, move your mouse to the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Click on Live Transcript, then click Show Subtitle. If you have any issues accessing this feature, please feel free to ask a question using the Q&A box, which is also found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Before we begin, IU Cinema wishes to acknowledge and honor the indigenous communities native to this region, recognizing the Miami, Delaware, Potawatomi, and Shawnee people on whose ancestral homelands and resources Indiana University is built. We encourage each of you to reflect on the land from which you are watching tonight. My name is Elizabeth Rell, and I am the lead house manager at IU Cinema and the co-host of A Place for Film, the IU Cinema podcast. As always, we miss being with all of you in person, but we're so happy to have you with us virtually, and we hope you and your loved ones are staying healthy and well. On behalf of the entire IU Cinema team, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us for tonight's world premiere of Part 4 of IU 2020, a 4-year documentary project following the lives of students from IU Bloomington's bicentennial class, Part 1 through 3 of which were screened earlier this year. Tonight's event is presented in partnership with the IU Office of the Provost and Executive Vice President. We are honored to collaborate with them in sharing these student-centric stories and thank everyone involved with this project for their hard work in making it possible. To introduce the film, I'd like to welcome Ethan Gill. Ethan began working for the Office of the Provost as a multimedia intern in 2015. He is the co-director and co-producer of the IU 2020 series and now runs the Office of the Provost's Multimedia Department. Ethan graduated from IU in 2018 with a Bachelor of Arts in Media Production and a minor in theater. Please welcome Ethan Gill.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth, and thank you to IU Cinema for hosting this. I can't believe it. We're here for the 4th and the final premiere screening of IU 2020. And also congrats to IU Cinema for passing their 10th anniversary back in January. I feel like we need to have confetti cannons on the sides of everyone as we talk tonight. This is amazing. And I'm just so excited to be here, and thank you all for joining us. Back in 2016, Communications Director of the Provost Office, Jennifer Purick, was on a mission to tell a plethora of stories about the ways that IU was changing students' lives at the turn of the bicentennial. If you've ever experienced higher education, you know just how intense a campus is, all of the different fields you can explore, and how fast one changes in a short span of 3 to 5 years. The student interns at the Office of the Provost kept those thoughts in mind while recording these moments. To my knowledge, this experiment has never really been tried in higher education specifically. If you're familiar with the movies like Boyhood or the Up series, this is in a similar vein. But with IU 2020, you get to see the complete journey of 12 very different and very busy students. Each one of these short stories is presented in 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on how each student adapted to and engaged in college life. Part 2 is about the relationships that they found here. And the 3rd and final season looked back at their full evolution into the young professionals that they've all become through their IU education. Tonight, we're going to hear from 3 of them. We're going to hear from Kendall Riley, our remarkable psychology and human bio major, who found comfort at IU with her friends, herself, and 2 amazing cats. We'll hear from Neha Bhasin, an ambitious media school grad who traveled across the world to become a Hoosier, alongside her partner since high school. And finally, Aiden Whelan, one of the very first engineering students from IU, who pretty much has done everything from sword fighting to guitar, and I completely forgot, he is a Slytherin. IU Bloomington's provost, Lauren Robel, said, "When I watch these films and see all of these students' hopes, dreams, challenges, and opportunities come alive on screen, I'm inspired by this next generation of leaders. These students are clearly smart and motivated. They're also funny and resilient, and exemplars of the genuine impact of an undergraduate education at IU Bloomington. College is a time of growth, evolution, and figuring out who you are and where you fit in the world. And what a great opportunity it is for student filmmakers to immortalize that change on screen. It's so exciting to share this journey with you and to meet two of those stars and two of the office's filmmakers tonight in our Q&A. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of these student stories. And thank you to Jen Purick for envisioning such a beautiful project and for providing a platform for these student stories and students' creativity. Thanks to Kate and Spa Chang for being the first director of this series. Thanks to the 20 student interns, I said 20, yes, yeah, who helped document this. Thanks to Hallie J, Steph Sloan, Haley Semian for helping wrap this production. And a huge thank you to our student stars who invited us into their lives. You have no idea how important it is to share your stories with future students. And we are incredibly grateful for your willingness to be a part of the series and inviting multiple cameras into your lives. And thank you to Lauren Robel for leading this campus that every day leaves a lasting impact on students. Now, I'll pass the mic back to Elizabeth, who will guide us to these stories, but sit back, travel through time, and enjoy a series 4 years in the making, IU 2020.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed IU 2020 Part 4, and I'm looking forward to this discussion and to everyone's questions. We'll start first with a conversation between filmmakers Ethan Gill, Sohile Ali, and Haley Semian, and featured students Aiden Whelan and Kendall Riley. About 20 minutes in, we'll begin answering audience questions. Please feel free to type questions into the Q&A box at any time, which you can reach by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So let's welcome back Ethan Gill, who will then introduce the rest of our guests this evening. Over to you, Ethan.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Yay, we did it. We saw it. Good work, everyone. I'm so proud of you. And I'm so happy that we've gotten to share all 12 of these stories with the IU Cinema as our format for this. It's such an honor to get to be a part of such a great lineage of amazing films and being a part of this. And so enough about that. Let's meet the people. So I want to start with order of appearance or order of joining the Provost office team. So we'll start with Kendall Riley. Kendall Riley, she started in neuroscience and chemistry and then found her way into psychology and human biology. And now she has a new home at the University of Iowa, studying sociology and criminology. Following Kendall is Aiden Whelan, our intelligent system engineer and one of the first graduates of Luddy SICE. Wow, what an amazing accomplishment. And just recently, he completed his Master's of Science in Intelligent System Engineering. Fun fact, he was actually one of the first people I was assigned to when I was a student intern. And another fun fact, we were both in an IU commercial together wearing 70s shirts. Actually, not this 70s shirt, but one very similar to that. So we can talk about that. Sohile Ali is also an intelligent system engineer from the class of 2020. And he is currently a Master's of Science in Intelligent System Engineering. Sohile started at the Provost office in 2018 and blew us away with his demo reel and his quick wit. He now operates multiple media content streams, including but not limited to podcasting and comedy sketches on YouTube. I recently, I was editing in the office here, and I decided to take a walk down to the Comedy Attic a couple weeks ago and saw him have a wonderful set. So if you're looking to go out into the world and enjoy some comedy, you should also go check him out there. And then finally, my ride or die, Haley Semian. She grew up in Bloomington and she started at IU in 2014 and graduated in 2018. She joined the Provost office team in the fall of 2019, helping us wrap in that final season. Haley's found a love at IU with cinematography and studying Chinese, and her work has been featured on screens at the Buzzkirk Chumley and the IU Cinema. Well, actually completely unrelated to this project, but you know, so she's been on the cinema screen a few times now. Yeah, so that's everyone here, and then I'm still Ethan, and yeah, so Hello. My first question is, how do we all feel having finally watched it all together in one complete documentary?
I just can't believe it. It's all there. That's 4 years of people that I've seen little bits and pieces and snippets about, and I loved that. It was amazing. It was so cool to see the trajectory of everyone and how much they've changed and they've grown in the past few years. It's amazing.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with Kendall. This is such an incredible opportunity for us as students to sort of have this time capsule of a production. To go back and look and see what we were doing freshman year, 4 or 5 years ago. And all the little things in between that may have, slipped out of your mind, or we've all gone on to do great things, and so some of these things, freshman year may have been, lost in the bustle. But now they're preserved in this amazing production. So you all thank for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Feeling nostalgic. Like Aiden said, there are things that I'd forgotten about that now going back over the 4-year journey, getting to be reminded of that was really, really nice. And just to really have this moving forward for the rest of our lives as a really telling time. Really, if you think about where we're at right now, kind of getting back to this post-COVID world at IU, this was really, at least the last episodes, kind of the last time things were the way they were at IU. And hopefully not for too much longer, but that is something that is to note as well. But yeah, very, very proud of the work and of you all as students, of course.
Haley, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I think like I'm really proud of the students, and it's really amazing to see their monumental growth from those 4 years. And these weren't just like any 4 years. Like, this is really a historical time, and to see them persisting and to see them like being able to adapt and to grow despite certain things. Yeah, I'm just really proud of them, and it's cool to have been a part of this documentation process.
I've been doing a lot of reflecting and thinking about, actually, I was kind of forced to reflect about this yesterday. In our office, we had our giant storage server yell at us, and it beeped really loud, and it said error, volume full. And I was like, oh, so we've filled up 79 terabytes of data on this thing. And so it's perfect timing to go submit these things into the scholarly data archive. And so I think it's really cool that some of our personalities and stuff will be forever protected inside something like Big Red 2 or whatever. It's kind of, we're getting meta here, but so I wanted to know, when you watch these things, what do you think students watching these 100 years from now are going to think about the things that you've accomplished here? And yeah, it's a hard question.
I hope that when people watch my film and the rest of ours, seeing how many friends we all made and doing different things, and just how much of a big part of college is really just about your friendships and how much that can really shape everything. Because I focused a lot on schoolwork and on lab work, but during each of those times, I had different friends for all of them, and that made the experience so much better, went far beyond the classroom and the lab experience itself.
Yeah, I would say that 100 years from now, I would assume, I have no way of knowing this, but I would assume that our worlds will look incredibly different. We're going to have different technologies we're dealing with. The way that we go about our day-to-day lives will be different. And I'm hoping that students can look back on this video and have a clear appreciation for how far they have come since we've done this. What has been built since 2020. 100 years ago from today, right, we were testing the first manned airplanes. Now here we are, right, we're building robots in the classroom. So I think that if I were a student looking back on this 100 years from now, I would feel really great about, how far we will have come.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, right? It'll be like, oh my gosh, have you ever seen that thing on YouTube? It's like, what? YouTube? My grandpa used YouTube. So who knows? But hopefully the digital age can keep up with itself, and that these are not as hard to get together as some like Super 8s have been, I guess. Um, in the sense of like archiving this. So um, yeah, hoping for preservation.
I think so much will change, but I think the stories will stay the same. I think people will still be able to relate to each other's humanity and will probably still be going through similar things.
Absolutely. And more than likely, we will still have the same very steep stairs in Valentine Hall. So, so wonderful, wonderful answers, everyone. So I wanted to know, and this could be Kendall, this could be Aiden, Sohile. What are some of the major differences that you've seen in grad school compared to undergrad life? I know it's like the same field but a different game.
Aiden, Sohile, feel free to go first.
Sure, absolutely. Well, on a very topical level, right? It's everything's digital, right? That's the biggest difference. We're in front of a computer for every part of the day. Communicating over Zoom, having classes virtually. Outside of that, though, going from the 2020 spring graduation from undergrad to the graduate level, I feel like we're just taking the next step in collaborative work, right? Cross-disciplinary projects. I was really excited to be able to explore some things that possibilities I never really knew were possibilities as far as academic pursuits and professional pursuits. And I think that there's so much flexibility and liberty that's involved in graduate studies. We thought we had the opportunity to specialize in undergrad. That was just exponentially increased when we became graduates. So it's been a thrill, and I really appreciated the time that I spent in a master's program.
I can go. So jumping from human biology and psych and IU and now into more criminology and sociology here at University of Iowa, the major jump has been people expecting me to know things versus just being expected to answer them on an exam, answer them on an essay. But now students come to me as their TA to help them on exams, explain theories to them. And well, firstly, most of the stuff I was just exposed to this past year, but the level of understanding things has just completely changed in the past year for me, like as I stepped from undergrad into graduate. And then also being expected to produce and generate knowledge versus just regurgitate it. I really feel like IU prepared me to think critically about some of the stuff that I was reading, that I've been seeing everywhere, and just being able to take the next step from just reading it and understanding what they mean, what they're talking about, but taking it one step further. And I feel like that's been the biggest thing, the biggest transition for grad school for me.
I agree with both Kendall and Aiden, and I think the one thing that I would just add is that, typically the change from undergrad to grad school is like kind of a more larger class sizes, moving more to like a cohort kind of approach, a little more intimate, a little more smaller. But luckily enough, Aiden and I experienced that kind of mentality in our class of 2020 in the engineering program because it was so small. And thankfully enough, it's grown each year. But nevertheless, kind of that kind of mindset of being among a cohort, I think would also be a big change. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this whole discussion panel, like everyone here, I see a panel of growth, and progression in all of your abilities and the things that you've pursued or taken risks on, or Um, I mean, I even think, behind the camera too, I see this as well. So, how do you all view your own growth?
I certainly got better hairstyles over 4 years. That's for sure. No, yeah, I think that you know, just in one's own confidence, right? You go through 4 years, and we think about year to year transitions, but what's sometimes missed in that discussion is the accrual of achievements over 4 years, right? So when you get to your senior year, you now have this body of work that you can be really proud of that you wouldn't have had in freshman year, at least in the university context. So that, I think, the recognition that it's not just the test score you got on Friday. It's the list of things that you've been able to be proud of throughout your academic and hopefully your professional career that just continues to build that confidence.
I can also agree with the whole changing hairstyles, changing looks completely over the past 4 years. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for the curly hair growth. Thank goodness. But other than that, the past 4 years, I went into a college with the mentality of, well, why not try something new? Well, why not do X, Y, Z? And I think that's really gotten me a long way, even off camera. Some of the things that weren't captured and that were brought back to mind watching the video. It was just, whoa, I wouldn't have been in this situation. I wouldn't have taken that next step, taken that next challenge, switched careers entirely if I just didn't say, well, why not? So I think my time at IU and a lot of the changes in the growth that happened were just a willingness to just say, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? I could hate it, and then I just don't have to go back and do it later. But I think that's one of the things that got me through those 4 years and had a really good time the entire time.
I'm really glad to hear that. And of course, the two of you, from seeing your stories tonight, obviously seeing your progression. And I think it's worth talking about the fact that, our team, the Provost team, we did our darndest to capture all the different events that were going on, all these pivotal moments in your lives. And, we were on your calendars, we were in your inboxes every other week, getting the gist. But with that, imagine all the things that weren't captured still, right? I mean, of course, we couldn't have gotten everything. So, you can watch these episodes and you see like all these impactful moments, but like, I think it'd be tenfold the amount that we, maybe couldn't or just didn't happen to, and how much of an impact that played as well. So it's kind of like, if of course, if people know you as individuals, they can remember your journey, but it's also cool to be able to imagine all the other exciting things that you were doing while at IU. And I think hopefully that'll be exciting for any prospective IU student moving forward.
I think about growth and in a similar vein of change. So I was born in Bloomington, grew up in Bloomington, spent 1 year in DC and then came back. And so I've been so many different cells here, and I feel like people may think staying in one town, you can't progress. And I know that I had that view, like, especially when you're a film student, you feel like you need to go to either coast to really get the most out of your degree. And I was surprised how I was able to use it so effectively in my own town. And like that, it just affirmed to me that there are stories everywhere, and that even though there's a lot of sameness around me with being in the same town, like you're always evolving and growing. And I've been so appreciative for this experience with IU 2020, because I've grown so much as a storyteller, and seeing different people's perspectives of Bloomington has changed the way I look at and view myself and view my past and my future. So I kind of think of change and growth in this kind of ball. And yeah, yeah.
Well, from both you, Haley, and Sohile, I need to know what were some of the craziest memories, or what's something that's really stuck with you about being a filmmaker on this campus? What's it like being that camera in the classroom?
Just for me, you know, it couldn't have been a closer attachment to the hip with Aiden, as we were oftentimes in the same classroom. And so it would be less of like, who's your professor? I need to get in contact with them, and be more of, Professor, I'm filming today. I hope you're okay with that. But no, of course, um, I think I was, you know, I also want to note that I got this job because of Aiden. I think it's worth mentioning that too, because Aiden had seen this job posting that Ethan was sharing at the time for a multimedia intern, and Aiden sent it to me and said, I think this would be up your alley. And then, as fate would have it, I get assigned to him, and so it kind of came full circle. But so yeah, I'm very grateful for not only our friendship, but for also for this opportunity that only kind of continued to enrich in it.
I love being behind the camera, so I like to just push the limits of things, like but like I say that in like the way that some people are maybe nervous to like kind of get up there and get in like into the action of things, and I want to capture it all. So I find being behind the camera most exhilarating, and I want to try to most tell the story visually most in the most authentic way that I can.
I find that a camera is able to help me be eloquent, and I'm not. I don't particularly see myself as a good writer, but I feel that I can write with the lens, or even just with good audio. I mean, I feel like you can sometimes, you know, that can also improve the quality of an image. But the amount of things that are happening at the university, um, it's like you have to go out there. You have to go out there and get it. And it's going by really fast, and there's a lot of different things happening. And it's cool that when you're in a moment and you're experiencing it, like India Remixed, for example, going to that, and it's just the thrill of all the noises and the culture and the food and the smells of the food, and all the people who are dancing and just so, you know, happy to be there. There's this euphoria that comes with that. But then when you go back into the editing room and you're looking through the stuff that you captured, and you saw something that was just this sliver of time, but now it's like always there and very specific, like you focused in on that, and so now it is the only thing, or it is the prime thing in that moment. I just find that so interesting that we can not manipulate time, but like, I guess, showcase it in that way. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun. You should always. Cameras are weird, and they're fun, and it's like they're little dumb little eyeballs, and you have to teach it how to be a good little eyeball, and it's so cool, all the possibilities with it. Yeah. So, well, this would be a good thing, because we're all talking about people. We're all talking about cameras, and we're all being philosophical. So I want to know what the relationships are like, being a filmmaker and working with the student. You know, I think it's interesting, you know, for you, Haley and Kendall. I mean, you know, you were like run and gun, and only got to meet on a couple of occasions. And then the world changed, and then Aiden and Sohile, like you already had this bond that was there. I mean, did those kind of instances like influence the way that you worked with one another, or like the things that you'd go out and capture? I mean, what was that relationship like?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, Sohile and I have known each other literally from day one of ISE. we, Sohile was the first person I talked to. We sat down at this little table in the geology building, and hit it right off. So having that, relationship already in place, made what could be kind of a nervous scenario, being set in front of a camera and, being asked questions in a very strict format. It made it a lot of fun. We talk about these kinds of things that we discuss in the film, just, in regular conversation. So it was just a matter of basically having the same conversations, just being aware that there was a sight line that you had to not look into, which kind of broke that rule a little bit. It makes it more fun, it makes it more open, and you can speak with somebody who kind of, is already aware of the student experience. So, they know the questions to ask as well that really facilitate a great conversation, really open up the doors to a student's life at IU.
Throughout the 2020 project, I had a few different people that come and film me, pretty much a different person every year, I think, and everyone was awesome. Everyone was so nice. I was always shocked when I would first meet the new person that year, and Haley as well. Everyone was just so easy to talk to. Everyone was so kind. It was just easy to be in front of the camera with them. And whenever I would ask people if they'd be okay with the 2020 crew coming and filming whatever I was doing that day, everyone was really, I don't know, do I really want to be in front of the camera? Is it like being on the Kardashians? And I always would say, you won't even know they're there. They're really nice. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And it always went really smoothly. And like I was saying, everyone was always so nice, even if I didn't know them personally, like Aiden and Sohile.
I always find it weird because so I came in like at the last third of this, and my first assignment was making a trailer for like the whole series, or like kind of like a couple minute video of like that encapsulates the whole project. And so I got to know each student really well, but then in reality, like there's not that mutual understanding of each other. So I feel like I intimately know people and then they don't know me. So that's a really wild experience.
I was just thinking about, well, there's a lot of things there. I think about what I want to loop in there's like the Q&A is like blowing up right now. So we're going to loop in Elizabeth. I think that I would love to hear what our guests are wanting to know. But I will say, being an intern and then also working now at this level of marketing generalist, as IU likes to call me, I'm finding as I get older, I'm worried about losing that ability to easily work with students. I think that there's such a wonderful advantage of being a student filmmaker and filming students, because you can make that connection a little bit easier. It's not just some old guy with a weird 70s mustache coming up with the camera and asking you questions. It's like your friend. It's that, and it just brings out so much more. And I just admire that. And that's something that Jen Purick at the office really kind of identified when she was kind of building this communications team from scratch. Like, she was really like, I know that we need to have this. And she's like, I know that like the discipline and the reliability and the being on time and stuff, all that stuff can be taught, but like, character can't be taught. And so I think that Jen really had that in mind this whole time. And and I think that it really shows in this project too, and in our subsequent projects, as I will later we have another one premiering this Friday that I'm really excited for people to see as well. So Elizabeth, take it away.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions in the Q&A so far, but you still have time to submit your questions if you haven't already. There's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, which you can submit those. The first one is Jessica asks, for the filmmakers, how did you go about piecing together all of these interviews and clips and making them into something that's like a coherent narrative?
I can speak to that. So I feel like there's your factual information that you want to get across. You want people to know what they're doing, what their major is, but then you also want to try to get across how that person is feeling during that period in their life. And the way I approach it is I want, even if I can't tell everything, I want to capture their essence. And I want to, when I'm listening to them in the videos, or if I meet them in person, I'm trying to understand their vibe, their essence, and then trying to put that into the film and make sure that comes across.
Yeah, I think too, like, you know, we are video makers. We're not making podcasts. So it's like anything that we can share story-wise visually, you know, we'll lay down an interview. And well, at least in the process of VIA 2020, you know, you lay down an interview and you talk about things that might be coming up, or things that had just happened, or you might ask questions about shoots that you got. But really figuring out ways that the B-roll shoot can help tell things that, you know, a conversation can't. And also just telling things to, you know, keep that story rolling. And I think also one of those the hardest things is trying to figure out a moment for a transition into the next beat of that person's life. Maybe it's a comment that they made in the B-roll shoot that happens to pair with this upcoming soundbite, or maybe that there's like this funny cue where someone's baking a cake and they burn the cake at the beginning of the story, but then at the end of the documentary, it's like a great cake, you know? So it's like trying to show those growth and those kind of little moments of people.
And I'll just add, it really helps like to think about the different themes of their episode, of their entire journey, whether that be, you know, family, innovation, persistence, these sort of things to kind of hold in your mind as you're deciding what you want to show, but what you want it to say as well.
Great. Yeah. The next question is, how do you think participating in this process changed your college experience?
Well, I would say for me, having this project sort of in the you know, always present in whatever we're doing, right? I wouldn't say that there's any pressure to do different things, but you know, in deciding what you wanted to pursue in your college career, you know, there's always this thought like, you know, this would this be something that would be cool to have in the 2020 project, right? It was an extra inspiration, you know, extra boost of confidence to say, oh yes, I can do this fun thing that's fun for me, but also maybe it can contribute in a meaningful way to the project. So uh, having that to look forward to, right, and to be able to double the things that you wanted to pursue in academic interests that you wanted to pursue, double that as, you know, things that could be put towards this great production. It was an interesting blend of personal and academic and professional interests.
I'd like to add that it made me do things that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise. I like I was saying, I'm very academic driven. I could really sit at my house and work at the library, work with my friends, but a lot of it was around school, and then I had a job off campus, and it was just that was my life, and I was good with that. But I knew I had to do stuff for this project, so it really pushed me to go to soccer games, go to baseball games, go to different events, new dance events. So it really pushed me to do other things that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise, because I would have been too busy studying or working or sleeping or something.
The next question, what advice would you give to incoming students specific to IU Bloomington?
Specific to IU Bloomington, that's a good question. I mean, things are going to change, you know, certainly. Like I would give suggestions about, like, you know, never take the the A bus in the morning. But I would say Bloomington specific. Here's a good thing. Don't let yourself as a student sort of slip into just the IU bubble, right? There's a whole town out there to explore as well. And IU is a great place. You could spend your entire college career just navigating the campus, and there's so many things that are offered. But not forgetting to sort of be a citizen of the world outside of IU. That could be something that people might find helpful.
I think the A bus recommendation was probably the best thing you're going to get from this entire Q&A. But I would also like to add that my mom went to IU and she actually didn't really want me to come here. She's probably going to text me and say, why did you say that on this recording? But obviously it turned out best for me. I miss it still, but it's really easy to get lost on a big campus. So it's really important to carve out like your space, your niche. Talk to your professors, talk to other students in your classes. And also another really good helpful thing is always ask. There's a chance you could be told no, but then ask someone else and they might tell you yes. That goes for funding, that goes for opportunities to TA, that goes to finding new labs and research to do. It really can kind of go for everything. So always ask, don't take no for an answer, for professional navigation purposes, of course. And yeah, I think those are my best bits of advice.
Talking about not getting lost on a big campus. So I started my first year at a smaller school and we saw the same people every day, like a high school, and you knew who people were. And when I came to IU, I didn't have that experience. So I would say finding a niche is good, and like keeping your mind open about who's a possibility for a relationship, and not to take that for granted or for advantage, because a lot of the people, maybe there's some relationships that I would have wanted to cultivate more or give more attention to help me find that niche a little bit more. So yeah.
I would say, in the words of a great scholar who said this in front of a green screen, do it, just do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams. And I also think too, like, fail. Like, and I don't mean like, fail like your entire semester, but I mean like, it's okay to have those mistakes. I would say that I would not be at the level that I'm at had it not been that I took risks and then made those mistakes, because then I learn from them. And it's just, yeah, shy surprise. Yeah. But it's yeah, this is like the last 4 years that you can just, be a goofball that doesn't have their stuff together before you have to be a goofball that has to have their stuff together. So, it's figure that out, try things out, take advantage of it, and keep going. Just keep going. And if it doesn't work, now you know exactly what you don't want to do. So there you go.
An interesting next question, very specific. Someone asks, what's the best bathroom on campus?
I feel like this must be an Easter egg. I think there's actually like an empirical answer to this. Someone did a documentary project or like an academic project before our time at IU, I think, where they went around every bathroom on campus and like did a review, and then plotted their data and came up with an answer. I don't know what that is. I've never seen the production, but yeah, I'll have to think about that. It's been a year since I've been on campus. Luddy has some pretty good ones.
I bet Luddy does. That building is beautiful. I've not been inside of it, so seeing your video, Aiden, it was breathtaking. But I liked the bathroom in the student building near the Kirkwood Avenue. If you go downstairs on the first floor or the basement floor, there's like no one there. There's a full length mirror, so you can always make sure you look fine before you go to class. So 10 out of 10 recommend that bathroom.
One of the best kept secrets of IU, I think, is Bryan Hall. A lot of students don't actually go into that building, and it's become a huge home for me. I mean, I literally live here now because my computer has been broken. And there is this one bathroom on the second floor that I don't know if it's been updated since I was last there, but it was like, it's got this like 70s green, like mint stone, like floor and stuff. And it's got like 2 doors that you can lock. So it's like, there's like a fail safe if someone breaks in. And it's like, and it's just so interesting. I feel like I'm in like a 70s high school. And it's just like, it's so neat. And there's like your own little private sink and a medicine cabinet. I'm like, why is there a medicine cabinet in here? And so it's a cool bathroom. It was a nice blast from the past, but I feel like they probably renovated it because, yeah, they do that.
If we have no more additions to this topic, we will move on. This is specifically for Aiden. Maeve and Molly ask who your favorite sibling is. I'm assuming they are your siblings.
My sister and my mother, in fact.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 5, and I have to say, without question, and I can say this definitively, my favorite sibling. And that's exactly how everyone should see it.
Yeah. So the next one is, what part of your IU journey surprised you the most? And was there anything that younger you would not have believed?
That's a good question. What surprised you most about your IU journey that you might not have believed? Probably just the scope of the opportunities that would become available, and how unexpected those might be, right? From speaking opportunities to research assistantships to research topics, to being a part of a 4-year documentary series. I think that it's hard to go into college, and expect or know exactly how your trajectory will unfold. So to that extent, everything was kind of a surprise. And if there's anything that we can take away from this set of 4 parts of this 2020 project across 12 students, right, is that there's no one right way to do it. And that, just because something, worked for us this time around, maybe, we could have done it a whole different way and it still had a great experience. Yeah, I think that was, probably the most surprising and unbelievable.
I'd like to add, and kind of going back to what Ethan was talking about earlier, how common it is to fail at something at IU. I started in the pre-med track. A lot of my friends are pre-med. I was, in the bio classes. I was with a bunch of pre-med kids, but if you know any pre-med kids, they're hardcore, they are at the library, they are studying, they are top performing students. And it wasn't until a little later, and I made a comment in my video even that saying that I kind of belonged in the social sciences. When that wasn't the case, other students were struggling as well. And I think you kind of lose that sometimes, especially at a place like IU, where a lot of people in your classes, it just seems like they're light years ahead of you in so many things. So I think younger me would have been very surprised at how common failure is. Failure that leads to success later. That's not, you don't just sit there and fail your entire semester, hopefully. But just a failure in like one small portion, it doesn't mean you are a failure. It means you should probably still continue down that path, maybe a little different turn, maybe keep trudging on, but it's pretty common there, in the best way possible, I mean.
I would reframe it as not failure, but like fluidity and flexibility. And like, as you know yourself more and you say yes to things, you start to figure out what direction is best for you. And to be able to have that flexibility to change in order to do what's best for yourself is really good.
I wholeheartedly agree with what everyone said, and I'd also just add that here at IU Bloomington, like if you think that there's something that you like, there's a good chance there's going to be at least one person, if not a whole club, dedicated to that thing as well. And if there's not, there are the resources for you to start it.
Okay, next question. While you were watching the finished product, were there any segments about yourselves that you had forgot that had happened or felt fresh this new time that kind of surprised you in a new way?
Yeah, absolutely. There were a ton, especially the earlier ones. There are things you kind of keep in the back of your mind, as just a record of that they happened. But just sort of seeing, some of the details, like, oh yes, that was the power generator that we almost forgot to bring on the parade, or that's the place where I hit my arm when loading the the parade or the float mechanisms. It's fun to sort of go back and relive those things in a little bit more resolution. It's those are such formative parts of our academic careers, and just sort of personal and social experiences. It's I think that's probably the earlier things, specifically the float constructions. Those were things that really were revitalized in my mind after watching it again.
Yeah, a lot of the earlier parts of my segment I totally forgot about, and especially some of the gym scenes. Me today would say, wow, that form was awful, Kendall. You are lucky you didn't hurt yourself there. There's been so much improvement, so much growth over the years. And then also the apartment that I had sophomore year, that was a year of a lot of change, a lot of growth, a lot of things happened. And so seeing some of those memories, it was like, whoa, so much has changed. I've grown so much, I've changed so much for the better. And so it was kind of like one of those pivotal moments in time that was captured on screen. And I kind of blocked all of that out. So it was kind of nice to see it again from this side of things.
If I could say real quick, it's funny, like watching the stories and looking back at things that I've edited or worked on and been like, oh, interesting choice. Like, I'm not sure if I would make that choice again, but I'm glad that I made that choice then, and also the glow up that you see in the reality of just watching the documentaries. They get a little bit more intense throughout the when you get to part 2 and 3. I think that they dive in a little deeper. They try other things and such. And so I think that we all agree with it. And then lastly, the thing that had surprised me the most, I forgot to I didn't answer that, but getting into documentary work, I really wanted to do narrative film, and that was my specialty. And I was like, I don't want to do documentaries. It's like I want to create things, but it's like the stories, reality brings so many more interesting stories. And I feel like I don't have any stories to tell, so I should provide a platform to stories that can be told. So that was something that surprised me.
Okay, looks like we have time for one more question. This is for everyone. What are you excited about in the near future?
I'm excited to travel back to Indiana. The school classes just ended at University of Iowa, so I finally took a week off to sleep, to cuddle with my cats who are both in the room with me, looking out the window. I always tell people that they are the most well-traveled cats there is. And aside from that, I'm working on some really cool stuff with my advisor here at Iowa, and I'm really excited to see some of the programs that we start up for mentorship and research on race and ethnicity here at Iowa. So I'm really excited for those things.
The last 4+1 years at IU has been really, really transformative in an academic sense. And, as a growing professional, getting the opportunity to sort of, like Ethan said, right, find out what you want to do and maybe what you don't want to do. And now, having concluded that journey, I've got a much better sense of what it is I'm excited to get into, right? And so, specifically for myself, and I'm sure that this is the case for everyone else here, I found this opportunity to sort of marry filmmaking and machine learning, and that's what I would like to go into. And I'm sure everyone else reached that same epiphany when they were in these 4 years, is realizing, oh yes, I didn't realize this was a thing, but now that I can pursue it for a career and make this my job, that's really inspiring in its own right, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is be able to pursue that.
Same here, building upon my craft within the provost office and all the various stories that we get to tell. Looking forward to all those, and completing my graduate work here at IUB.
Okay. I mean, that's all the questions I have for you. Ethan or anyone else, do you have final thoughts, questions, comments before we wrap anything up?
If we have time, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you.
Well, I
It
just,
isn't
I
a
just
Zoom
wanted to.
webinar if someone doesn't cut each other off. So
Exactly
go for it,
right.
please do.
I just wanted to on behalf of the cast, right, just thank everyone who's been involved in this project. You guys have done so much for us, and really put us on this platform to be able to preserve our journeys. And so, for that, I think I can speak for everyone when I say we're just so grateful for everything you've done. Ethan, for guiding us, being the showrunner for the last couple of years. As well as you mentioned, Kate Chang, who was the in your position beforehand. Jennifer Pure, who brought us on board. Sohile, as my personal cameraman, and everyone else in the cast had their own Sohile. People like Abby Gibson, who actually, went out of her way and came to Paris, where I was studying, to get footage for the 2020 project. If that's not dedication, I don't know what is. And of course, Lauren Rebel, our beloved provost, for her guidance throughout all of this, and supporting the project. So to everyone who was involved, on behalf of the cast, just thank you.
Just thank you all, and it brightens my day to get to see you, and it makes me so excited to see where you go, and that you're going down paths that are really going to help people, and benefit people in the future and stuff. And then I also just wanted to say too, I'm excited to see what our provost team continues to do with these, and how these stories can reach prospective students, or help students kind of reflect, and yeah. And then, and lastly, I should say this: Friday, we have a premiere for another provost story that is happening. We are working with the Archives of African American Music and Culture, and they are putting in the finale of their documentary series AAAMC Speaks, and I hope that you all can join us on the IU Bloomington YouTube premiere this Friday at 7. It's the same YouTube channel where you can find all of the IU 2020 stories. Anyone else, please feel free, but thank you all so much. Truly, this is an honor to get to tell these stories.
And an honor to have them told in such a fashion. So thank you for bringing us on board.
Well, thank you, Ethan, Sohile, Haley, Aiden, and Kendall, for such a wonderful discussion this evening. Special thanks to Aiden and Kendall for allowing your IU journeys to be captured on film and shared with us. Thanks to Provost Lauren Robel, Jennifer Purick, Cadence Baugh Chang, and everyone at the IU Office of the Provost and Executive Vice President. I'd also like to thank the entire IU Cinema team, particularly Seth, Ava, and David, who have all worked behind the scenes to help make this event possible. We encourage you to visit our website at cinema.indiana.edu to see our interactive virtual events, curated streaming offerings. And join us again on Tuesday, June 1st at 7 p.m. for our next event, a virtual introduction to and film screening of the 1935 Josephine Baker film, Princess Tam Tam. To all of you who tuned in tonight, Thank you once again for being with us. Be well, be kind to yourselves and others. Have a great night.